Hello friends, it's Timmie here making a video. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon and the video topic is my gender defined. A few hours ago I just got back from a job fair that was happening in the school district that I've been student teaching for, Peninsula School District, and I feel like it went really well. We had group interviews and it just felt like very low pressure. It wasn't an official interview, it was more like screening. They're just kind of like checking to see what's out there, but I felt like I was just spot on with all the questions that I was answering. So yeah, that's been pretty good. So diving right into the subject, I wanted to talk a little bit first about labels and definitions. I just want to state that labels and definitions, they are important. They can bring you a sense of community and a sense of individual belonging, but please don't make it the first priority while exploring gender. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you if there is no label to describe how you feel about your gender. And with how I came to discover labels, I grew into them. I grew into them after carefully observing how the community used the language within discourse and within talking to people and seeing the function that it served and seeing how it made me feel. And when I started using like certain labels to describe my gender, I was reaching a point where I literally could not describe my experience in any other way. So again, just to restate that, labels and definitions are important, but just don't make it the first thing. There's nothing wrong with you if you don't have a label to describe your gender right away. Now, the second thing I would like to address about gender, just remember that gender, it's not just about labels, clothes, and pronouns. Remember that gender is a psychological, social, and cultural concept. It deals with far more than just labels, clothes, and pronouns. It deals with, from my experience, speaking personally, how I understand my body, how I engage and interact with others on an interpersonal level. It affects my romantic relationships. It infects my engagement with societal structures all throughout my life, even in childhood, and a lot of my own personal struggles, trials, and tribulations. So gender is a lot more than just labels, clothes, and pronouns. The labels, clothes, and pronouns are simply an extension of what I've been through internally. So the three labels I really like to go by, I describe myself as transgender, non-binary, and genderqueer. And I'm also comfortable abbreviating transgender as simply trans. And transgender, the definition refers to a gender that is different from that which was designated at birth. So I was assigned male at birth, so my gender was boy, expected to grow up to be a man. And non-binary and genderqueer, it refers to not being a man or a woman, but something else. I usually say to people, I'm not a man or a woman, I'm a person. Let's see. And I feel like these three labels are really effective with describing my gender identity, and I just wanted to go over like some of my personal connotations that I feel behind these labels. So as far as the abbreviation trans, I really like that, and I like the ambiguity by just saying trans instead of transgender. I feel like trans has two connotations that people can think of. They can either think of transitioning, whether that be physical or social, but it could also refer to transcending. And so I like both of those connotations, and especially describing that, yes, I can be quite transitory with how I experience gender, but I've also transcended a lot of gender struggles in my life. Now, as far as the connotation behind genderqueer goes, I feel like it has a connotation of not being sure of one's gender. And I feel like I like that label because I like the connotation of not being sure. And sometimes when I fall into moments where I'm experiencing body dysphoria, I will fall into moments like that where I'm not really being sure where it's pointing me towards when I experience body dysphoria. If it's pointing me towards I should feel like I should be male, I should feel that I should be female, or I should be an androgynous embodiment. Like genderqueer accurately describes like how the unsureness behind how I feel when I fall into moments of body dysphoria. But then I really like the term non-binary as well. I like how technical and direct it is. Binary, of course, refers to manhood and womanhood. Non-binary, not a part of that system of manhood or womanhood. Um, I feel like non-binary has a more direct connotation of saying I do not have to know it's not of importance for me to have this overriding knowledge about gender because it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the ultimate definer of my personality, my gender. Um, Non-binary for me has that connotation of I do not have to be part of that system. And what's interesting for me about using both these labels interchangeably, non-binary and genderqueer, is that even though this might sound a bit juxtaposed, just that very thought behind non-binary of like I do not have to be a part of that system, that simple thought of having that, it brings actually ironically brings me out of those feelings of body dysphoria when I just acknowledge like this doesn't have to be decided, you can just be how you are. And so those are what the terms trans, non-binary, and genderqueer mean for me. There are some other labels was wondering about and exploring before I realized those three labels are the ones for me. There are some other non-binary ones such as gender fluid, which refers to like gender changing day to day or week to week basis between like some days feeling like more of a man or a boy, some days feeling like more like a woman or a girl, or sometimes feeling like a little bit of both, or sometimes just feeling like neither. And there's also the label of agender, which refers to just like not having a gender. Um, those are labels I've considered before, and I feel like they're still accurate in describing feelings and psychological experiences that I've had and been through surrounding gender. But I don't feel like they fit very well with me because I don't feel like the labels, using them strictly as labels, I don't feel like those are very static identities for me to be describing solely that's how I experience gender. Final thing I would like to address with labels. I know that a lot of people have made a big fuss over like the Tumblr gender master list, and I mean, I'll admit when I was first exploring being trans, like my initial reaction to that was like, this is really broad and complicated, and I was skeptical as well. And I was looking through like a lot of these definitions and thinking like, okay, but are these definitions really going to stick around? Are they communicating points well? Um, so that was my initial reaction when I saw like the gender master list and such on Tumblr. If you haven't seen it, you can totally Google it and check it out. Um, but you're not invalid if you use any of those labels that are on their master list. I have absolutely no problem with people using them. I I think it's totally fine to label your gender however you want to, you know. And I would say that even though I had that initial reaction of this is broad and complex and is this being communicated well, it did help me learn more about gender experience. Like I remember there were a couple on there where it said like autogender, and it refers to like gender that's affected with intersections of like neurodivergence and autism spectrum disorder. And that's when sorry, and that's when I grew to know more about like the autism neurodivergent intersection with the trans community. And I remember even seeing one that was described as like musicogender, which is like when your gender is like affected by music, which is very relevant to me. So I don't really prescribe to that label of musicogender for myself, but I will use it sometimes just in like light and humorous circumstances to know that I can, you know, have a sense of humor about my gender. I mean, even when I was advertising for my senior recital, I had this like ridiculously flamboyant, overdone poster. I think the recital was called like the subconscious narrative and dissociative aesthetics of Timmie Sound World, and I was like advertising on social media. And was like, come to this concert and come to the land of the transitory musical gendered explorer Timmie Flock. So yeah, I don't really prescribe to that label, but I do like to use it in just like light and humorous circumstances because it does validate what I've been through, even though I don't really daily communicate that that's the label for me. So yeah, that's my opinion on gender master lists and whatnot. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that next week is going to be a fluffy week. I'm between two different things. I'm leading a session about gender identity and music education at my career youth center, Oasis Youth Center. I'm really looking forward to that. I might video record that and post it on this channel. I know I already got through the series where I posted like the 4 different sections from that presentation. But a few things have changed since then as I've been continuing to like practicing for the event again. So I might just post the entirety on that here. That's really depending on who is at the group though, and their comfort level with being recorded and posted on social media. So that might happen, it might not, really just depending on the group. If I don't do the Oasis Youth Center for Fluffy Week next week, then maybe I'll talk a little bit more about just a life update over my advocacy work, because I've had a lot of exciting opportunities that are coming to me pretty soon that I wanted to let you all know about. And this is Timmie for OutOfThisBinary. I hope wherever you are, you're safe, happy, and healthy. I hope that you're experiencing lovely weather somewhere, just like I am right now in this beautiful city of Tacoma and this beautiful backyard of grass down here. All right, have a good one, and see you later.